Here we go now. A case of beer, some barbecue. There's no doubt that I'm better than you. With these looks and these moves, you can't blame me for being so rude. The land of the red, white, and blue will be my home till the day I die. I'm every lady's fantasy. I'm the American guy.
Check, testing, 1, 2.
The trailer park is where I'm from. You better believe I have about 27 guns. Baseball games, pickup trucks. I'm leagues above you other dumb schmucks. I'm from where the women are hot and the Twinkies are deep fried. And every day I pledge allegiance to God and country. I'm the American guy.
Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Filsinger Games Fan Podcast. This is the Filsinger Games Fan Podcast, episode number 80 for February 4th, 2022. Super excited to have you here this evening, this morning, whenever it is that you're checking this out. The Filsinger Games Fan Podcast is the podcast that isn't going to talk about the Royal Rumble because we didn't watch any of it. Okay, so before we get started, we do want to send a special shout out to all our incredible Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who help make this show and the other shows from Saturday Morning Media possible. Huge shout out to all of them, and a special shout out to our patron producers, Dorothy Pachoco, Eve Cunning, Kathy Crawford, Tony Urbano, David Akers, and Vicky Sebring. If you would like to support this show and the other fine content from Saturday Morning Media for as little as $1 a month, head on over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media. Well, the Perennial is behind us. We are looking forward to teaser season. We covered all the teasers last episode, and we are ready to go with this teaser season and see what is up. We do have some news and notes that we do want to get to. The bulk of this episode is going to be hearing from the Dark Menace and Tom Filsinger. I have some highlights, some selected highlights from both the Dark Menace and Tom Filsinger's talk at the Perennial, and we will listen to both of those. But we do have some news and some notes that we want to get to as we go on here. The first is a tweet from Filsinger Games. Now, we've been talking about this special project that's been coming for weeks, and we heard just a tiny bit, just a sliver about it last week here on the show, direct from Tom. We got a tweet from Filsinger Games, and I'm going to read this tweet for you. This tweet is linked in the show notes for this episode, and here's the tweet. It says, "Here's more news as promised. Filsinger Games is moving ahead with a dramatic new platform for playing our flagship game, Champions of the Galaxy. We'll bust things wide open, bringing Champions of the Galaxy to a wider audience. Details coming soon." Okay, so that was the tweet, and there's nothing, tremendously, special about this tweet, and we don't get really any new information about what this dramatic new platform is. Now, a platform is, I would say, a platform is a new way to play the game. Right? Isn't that what that would mean? If I'm thinking that right. But what could that new platform be? Who knows? Anyway, I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed, and I notice that somebody has quote retweeted this. And who has quote retweeted this but none other than 80s Mania Wrestling Returns. Now, if you are a fan of my YouTube channel, you know that I've played some Modern Mania Wrestling. There's also a game called 80s Mania Wrestling. These are mobile games for your phone. And these also, there was an 80s Mania Wrestling card and dice edition of some of the characters from 80s Mania Wrestling made their way to the tabletop game from Filsinger Games. So there's a relationship there between Filsinger Games and 80s Mania Wrestling. Now, what's interesting about this quote retweet is listen, it could just be them supporting Filsinger Games. But look at the two emojis. There's a little galaxy emoji, but then there's a little thinking guy emoji So I don't know. Maybe these are unrelated. Maybe they're not. But I just thought that this was very interesting. And it'll be interesting to see as this news breaks and comes out in the weeks ahead. And of course, we will be covering it all right here on the Filsinger Games Fan Podcast. It'll be interesting to see what this dramatic new platform is all about. Moving on to other news. I told you last week about the Champions of the Galaxy Online and about how they are going to, maybe roughly by some point next year, they will have filled in all the gaps of all the Champions of the Galaxy sets. So 2113 to 2114 should be out no later than May of this year. 2115 and 2116 no later than the end of this year. And then 2117 and 2118 shortly after that, shortly into the new year. Well, we found out on the Roll Up podcast that Tom Rickard, who actually did a lot of the coloring, I think he did all the coloring for 2137, will be coloring some, if not all, of these sets. So that's very exciting to know that they're going to look great. They're going to look fantastic. All the other color versions look fantastic, but it's great to see Tom being able to jump in and do some of this work as well. Tom Rickard, that is. And also on the Roll Up podcast, Todd says that after the gaps are filled, so 2113 through 2118, they are looking at what to do next. And possibly that would be the CPC sets, or possibly that would be the early classic sets. In my opinion, it kind of makes sense to do the early classic sets because then you're still sticking in, Champions of the Galaxy and you're getting that complete universe set. But who knows? We will have to stay tuned and we will have to see as things progress forward. The other news that I forgot to cover last week that was mentioned at the convention is that at the Perennial, is that there will be a spring virtual convention tentatively over Wrestlemania weekend. There's no dates for that set. There's dates for Wrestlemania set. There's no dates for this virtual convention set, but that's another fun virtual event we have to look forward to. In other news, we have new Legends small set PDF handbooks. The PDF handbooks for CAC 2115 and 2116 are now available, and you can get those at the link in the show notes. And the other great news is Chad Olson posted in the Promoter Prime 2021 thread that he had been talking to Mike about making handbooks for Promoter Prime. And what he said was, would you be willing to pay for a hard copy of the Legends Promoter Prime book as part of the subscription to Promoter Prime? The bios would be in the thread throughout the year, and at the end of the year, you would get a book with your quarter for Legends Pro Prime cards, but this would increase the cost of Legends Pro Prime subscription, maybe $5 to $10. I am all for this. I think this would be great. I love handbooks. I love being able to pop a couple handbooks in my backpack, take them with me anywhere, and check them out. And I love having the handbooks handy. I would love to see this happen. I even suggested that they should go back, and since they're doing all these PDF versions of past versions of the handbook, make the option to buy those as well, because I would certainly pick them up. But the link to that thread is in the show notes for this episode. Click on it, go over there, let your voices be heard, and then maybe these handbooks can become a reality, or if people don't want them, they won't become a reality. But definitely go check those out. Another little quick piece of news, and that involves Ringside Companion Volume 2. Now, of course, this week everyone is all abuzz because Volume 1 of the Ringside Companion is in the mail, and I'm sure everyone at Filsinger Games is grinding their teeth right now because I'm even bringing up Volume 2, but it was just a little interesting piece of news, or just an interesting mention that I wanted to mention here, is that on Roll Up, Todd said that Volume 2 would come out next year. Now, He could just be, it's the beginning of the year. We're still thinking 2021. He's still thinking it'll come out next year, meaning this year. Or he could be saying that will be coming out in 2023 because Volume 1 came out in 2022. Who knows? We will stay tuned on this the rest of the week, and we will see what develops with this. But the Ringside Companion is certainly very popular. People are loving it. I loved it, and I'll talk a little bit more about it here in a minute. But there's some news about Volume 2 of Ringside Companion. The Perennial exclusive cards for Chaos Supreme and Frogman LeBlanc. We are told that these are finished. They are headed to the printers, and they should be mailed out in the weeks ahead very soon. So I can't wait to get those. I have a spot already for Frogman LeBlanc, patiently waiting by the P.O. box, waiting for him to show up. So very excited about that. As always, the latest news for Filsinger Games, you want to head over to filsingergames.com. That's where you can go to get all the latest news and information on anything filsingergames.com related. They posted the teasers all this week. We covered those last week, but last episode. But you can go there. You can check out all the teasers, see the art up close instead of just on the video screen here, and check it out for yourself. Well, it's time here for sort of the main event of the thing. Actually, I don't like saying the main event because every other podcast uses main event. It's time for the meat of the podcast, and that is two videos that I'm going to play here. Now, they're actually just audio, so if you don't have to head over to the YouTube channel to watch video because you're not going to see video. This is just audio only. Now, the first piece I'm going to play is from the Dark Menace himself. And these are just some highlights of some of the things he said. The Dark Menace now was wearing this really strange mask, which you'll hear Todd ask him about. But this kind of explains why his voice was a little bit muffled. But I think sprinkled through this quick little video are some clues about 2138. So let's hear that now.
We are doing our part to bring peace to the universe, and we will do so if force is necessary.
Does anybody here have any questions?
Everybody knows the future history already. They've already read about the future. I'll take any questions from anybody, but the future is still being written too. And you'll see it's a good future. It's a good future for all of you. All you have to do is obey, and it's easy.
Does anybody have any questions here for the Dark Menace?
See, people are afraid of me.
I think it's that new look. Where's the origins of this new mask? Is it a mask or is it a cybernetic implant? What is this?
Let me answer that question another time.
Fair enough.
If you don't know the answer in your time zone yet, then the answer will be coming. As far as spoilers go, I can just tell you, I can't, I'm not a writer. I'm experiencing everything you're hearing about. So all I can tell you is what's happening. And the Gladiator invasion is going very well, very smooth. It will continue to. And there are people who resist us, fools. They'll find their place. They will pay the price. We seek peace through force. And so everything will be just fine. The gladiators will continue. There is some resistance. Some people saying that there's going to be some surprise for us coming up. There's nothing that can surprise me. We've thought ahead. So we're not worried about it. We have some surprises too. We're not done. The Aethren takeover is only partway through. It will continue.
So is there new gladiators that you're working with and training to come to the battle right now?
That's always the case. And so the question just is, when do we unleash them? Now, we unleashed a couple last year to take over the women's ranks, and they did. It was easy. They just plowed right through it. And so, we've taken over the female ranks. We're going to continue our takeover of the male ranks. Whatever you haven't seen yet in your timeline, you will be seeing shortly. We'll just leave it at that.
So we have a question here from Steve. He's asking, is your mask hiding any war scars? or did one of the Aetherans physically disagree with you about something?
The whole discussion about that will be coming at some time period. We are not only getting along fine, but the combination of Dark Menace and Aetherans is one of the most powerful combinations in history. Everything's going to be great, the greatest combination in history. We're taking over the galaxy. The takeover will continue. Lay back, go home when this is all over. Tell your family the universe is under great control.
Is there anything else that you could tell us about what to kind of expect in the coming year from the Aetherans?
I suppose. A lot of times there's a lot of change in some years and progressions in the history of the GWF, and this is not going to be any different. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of people trying to pull the rug out from under me, and there's a lot of people running the GWF who really don't know what they're doing. That's called the board of directors. And they never seem to know, I should be the only commissioner. There shouldn't be two commissioners. That's just a bad way to run things. So there is some controversy. Some people seem to think it was wrong for us to invade a planet the way we did with Castaways. We're just trying to save everybody. So, people shouldn't be upset about it. But there are a lot of people who are upset about it. And so there's a lot of pressure on the GWF to respond to these things. And naturally, I will resist that pressure. I believe I should be the only commissioner, but the board is starting to feel pressures that I think they should stand up to. But that's just my opinion.
Dark Menace, what are you doing to protect us from the blasphemers like Massive and Lord Nexus?
Well, that's one of my problems I have with the board. Those people are just getting in the way of progress. And I've appealed to the board and said, we need just one commissioner. We can't have two or three voices, and especially their voices, because, Massive has, gone off the deep end. He's associated with Endgame, who's a lunatic. And then you've got Lord Nexus, who's, acts like he's like the perfect person, and he's hardly anything even close to that. And so let us run things and we will be just fine. And that's going to be my argument to the board. And the board, needs to go along. They live on planets too. That might be a veiled threat, but take it any way anybody would.
So we have a question here. Aether and Overmaster, we noticed in the last year, it wasn't quite up to the same level of fury that he's had in previous years. Do you feel he's losing a step? And do you see maybe a new Minister of War maybe coming on sometime soon?
That's an internal matter. As you know, sometimes Aetherans need cleansings, and naturally a person doesn't stay at peak for their whole life. Aether and Overmaster is still one of the top 3 wrestlers in the GWF, and if anybody disagrees with that, it's just simply because they don't know wrestling. And so, as far as we're concerned, Aether and Overmaster is doing fine.
All right, there you have from the Dark Menace himself, thoughts about 2138 and beyond. Now, I noticed some people in the chat are talking about board of directors, and he did mention board of directors. And when we play this next part with Tom, you're going to hear board of directors again. So I'm wondering if this is going to be something that we're really going to see a lot of in 2138, meaning a board of directors. My other question was, the Dark Menace was wearing this mask. Maybe he was just doing it to goof on us, to fool us on stuff like, to play a trick on us, to get us all talking and speculating. But I wonder if we'll get some new art, not necessarily a new card, but some new art with Dark Menace with this mask on, and if this mask is just something he wore to address his subjects at the Perennial, or if this is something that will play into the storyline. It will be interesting to see. Now, it was very funny in the chat. Ben NG said, I'm starting to think that Dark Menace is actually Tom. And he said, you laugh, but the similarities are uncanny. Well, I have some audio from Tom, so let's hear what Tom talks about. And he starts out here by talking about 2138.
So there's going to be a lot of movement in 2138. A lot of movement and change again. even though we're in the midst of a storyline, we are, as usual, also in the midst of a new storyline. So, there's that'll all still be happening. As you've started writing, is this the planned final? Right. It is the end of the story arc for Origins. That's the way it's, yeah. I always like to leave myself a little wiggle room just in case a better idea hits me. But right now, that is definitely it. And it's also transitional, as always, towards what is coming next, too, which is always left kind of mysterious for two reasons. One, the things I am planning, and two, the things that I don't even know yet. There's stuff going on with everybody. There's going to be some new things happening as always. And so I can't refer to that yet, but Sly will be affected by it. Yeah. There's a lot of very vile people in the GWF when you really think about it. It's fiction. In terms of fiction, what you have is this whole gambit of possibilities. And it all takes place within this wrestling federation, wars, murder. I mean, it's really kind of like a superhero cartoon violence, like when the Avengers have these save the world events that they're still having. I read them. I'm reading Dark Ages and reading some of the new Marvel, Kang the Conqueror, and some of the new Marvel stuff. When you have all these planetary wars and stuff, people are dying and being killed and etc. And it's just accepted as fiction. And that's where we're at here, that we almost have to suspend disbelief. A wrestling federation of this type, I don't know if it could really actually exist. Maybe it could. I don't know what the future has in store either, though. Maybe that'll be normal in the future, that's the way a wrestling fed is run. I'm busy with a few things right now. One is, of course, Origins, which takes up all of the vast majority of my mental space. Then after that, another project that we're not going to talk about, we'll do it in stages, that I'm busy working on characters for. And then also, once this era ends, in July, when we release the new stuff, I will get to that Dark Menace book, which I've said we noticed by accident that they were all gone. And I thought, oh, geez, I really need to have this in print somehow. And then the thought occurred to me and to Todd, why not just update it? I mean, it is a book that is being written about the game up to the year I accidentally say 2105, but 25. And we've had 17 years since then. So I'm going to be doing an updated version of that book. And I only have one copy. I don't even have the first edition. That's, I just let these things get away. And I wanted to keep my one copy that I have. So I'm eager to, there it is. I'm eager to update it. And so that'll happen sometime in the second half of the year. When it actually gets released, I don't know. I don't want to put it out before it actually feels finished. But I hope that'll be fun. It'll keep a record of our game history. It'll be updated. Not in as much detail as the first one, but it'll make it worth it to have, both copies, is what I'm saying. Let's see, Crime Stop. Oh God, Crime Stoppers. Whenever that jumps to the top of the list, right now the Dark Menace book kind of leapfrogged over it. It's one of those things that when I really feel like it, I've already got notes for it. I've already know where I want to go. I just haven't felt ready yet. Are you interested in pushing more sci-fi and magical? I love the sci-fi and magical. I don't like to overdo it, though. I don't want it to overtake the realism of that this is still a wrestling promotion. There's that fine line of when have you gone too far. I like to push those boundaries, and that's what Crime Stoppers is intended for. When I do another Crime Stoppers set, I can do some things there with superpowers and maybe even magic that I wouldn't do in a regular set because I don't want it to go too far off. We've already gone quite far off. And you want it to stretch, you want it to bend, but you don't want it to break. And so I always try to corral it in, like I'm doing right now, actually. Okay, now the portals are closed and we're not doing a lot of that magic stuff now. We're going to try to get a little bit more grounded again, look at past history of the GWF, which is really what's been going on for the last 2 sets and will continue in the next one. Some of the biggest shockers to be revealed about the origins of the GWF are really coming in the next set, 2138. You've already had the old history of the Titans War. I forget now even what I've written just for that. But, revealing things about, so I'm trying to stay grounded again now, and putting aside some of that sci-fi and magic a little bit. Well, let's see. I don't know if I have anything else. So much love for Wolf. Yeah. Well, there's going to be Wolf's storyline too. There's going to be a lot of drama. The Dark Menace alluded to some of it. He's always trying to, push his weight around. And, but he's right. The board, and there's a lot of pressures. The GWF has gotten very political. I mean, you've got people invading planets. There's pressures. And I think the board is probably going to respond to those pressures.
Well, there you have it. Words from the, I don't want to say the Dark Menace because they're two different people, but words from Tom Filsinger. I did think it was interesting that both the Dark Menace and both Tom mentioned a lot of change in 2138, and they both mentioned the board of directors, as I said before. So very interesting. You know me, I am excited for 2138. It could be here already, and I would be super excited and super happy. So there you go. That is the last of our perennial coverage. I hope you enjoyed it. And we will move on now to the match of the show. I tell you, HelSin has 4 straight wins as the podcast grand champion, and I asked you to give me ideas on who HelSin should fight next, and you all came through here. Super crazy. Doomsday Creature, Nick Gage, Vampiro, Shepard, and Jack Briscoe. Those were the choices. Now, out of these suggestions that you, the amazing listeners of the Filsinger Games Fan Podcast, made on the YouTube page for last week's episode, 2 of the names on this list actually got multiple votes, and those names were Doomsday Creature and Shepard. So I put those names into a randomizer. I randomized them all up, and ladies and gentlemen, taking on HelSin tonight for the podcast grand championship is none other than Doomsday Creature. So Doomsday Creature, I will say he's got an uphill battle because he has this dismemberment move with a DQ of 7, and just in general, his DQ is 7. So if he wins this clean, I'll be surprised, but I have a feeling we might be seeing some sort of rematch with stipulations, but that's good because we've got the Ringside Companion in the future. So let's roll some dice for this championship match. Let's ring that bell, and look at that. Doomsday Creature is going to start things off here with a bite to the face to HelSin. HelSin is dazed, and Doomsday Creature rolls an animal lunch. It's an agility move, and HelSin has the agility, so he'll reverse it and roll on level 2 and throw Doomsday Creature into the turnbuckle. And both wrestlers go down. The wrestler with the better turnbuckle rating is first to recover. That's going to be HelSin, and HelSin's going to roll on level 3 offense. Hits a Hurricane Rana on Doomsday Creature, who is down. Doomsday Creature is going to bail out of the ring, and HelSin crushes him with a spectacular move outside the ring. Doomsday Creature rolling his count out. The target is 2. The roll is 9. So 1 fatigue for Doomsday Creature, and HelSin will roll stake to the heart. Add 1 to Doomsday Creature, who is now at 2 fatigue. We will roll on level 3 defense, and that is a hurt 2 for Doomsday Creature. HelSin rolls a choice A, so into the ropes. His ropes is a C. Yeah, he's going to throw him into the ropes. Make sure I click that there. All right, into the ropes goes Doomsday Creature. He comes off the rope, and HelSin puts him down with a running back elbow. HelSin will roll on level 2 offense. And into the turnbuckle goes Doomsday Creature again, and crushed by a big kick. Opponent rolls on level 2 offense, and then HelSin hits the mallet thrust. And only a hurt on Doomsday Creature. A headbutt on Doomsday Creature, that hurt him as well. And HelSin again throws Doomsday Creature into the turnbuckle and crushed by a big kick. HelSin rolling again on level 2 offense and again rolling choice A. So he's going to throw Doomsday Creature into the ropes, and he ducks down. We're going to roll again on the chart. Running clothesline. Both wrestlers go down. The wrestler with the better ropes rating, well, that's going to be HelSin again. HelSin's going to recover, roll on level 3 offense, and he hits Burial. +1 finisher. Rolling the dice here. The target is 5, and the roll is a 3, and HelSin just buries Doomsday Creature. Another win for HelSin, and man, he's turning out to be an exciting champion. I would love to know who you think HelSin should defend against next. Leave your comments on the YouTube page for this episode, and let me know who you think he should fight. You think Shepard should get a chance since he was in the running, or do you think it should be someone else? I kind of actually like the idea of Vampiro, because, he's HelSin's a vampire hunter, so Vampiro, that's kind of fun. But I want you to tell me, I want you to let me know who you think should face HelSin next. Well, as we wind down here, we want to get to our next segment, which is the question of the show. Last week I asked you, I gave you a real tough one here. You have the choice of getting one black and white Legends card colorized, but then all the other ones will never be available in color forever. Who do you choose and why? Lee Longpre said, I would say Ravishing Rick Rude. He's one of my absolute favorite wrestlers of all time, so that's the one card for me. Ken West says, easy one for me, as I love this guy from my childhood in Mid-South World Class, even a brief WWF run, The Missing Link. I would love to see a Missing Link card. I don't know if that's the one that I would pick, but absolutely, to see the Missing Link in color would be so much fun. I kind of hope that he's in this set that's coming out, Expansion 9. Brandon Williams says, I would go with Sabu for the color update. Play with lots of hardcore wrestlers and love the thought of putting Sabu updated card versus Necro Butcher or Nick Gage in a death match of some sort. There would be a lot of color in that one. Scotty Boy 9999 says, I'd have to say my desire would be for a colorized Andre the Giant at the expense of all the others. I know it could be a common choice, but he's just a huge deal in the history of wrestling. So absolutely agree with you there. Peppermint Rage says, as an Indies player, my answer would be Dr. Cube, which was a really great choice there. And so I just love the idea of a colorized Dr. Cube card. I think that would be great. I don't know if I would pick that at the expense of some of the other names, but it is definitely a great choice. Crew Fan says, that's a tough question. Andre seems like the obvious choice, but as far as color, I would love a Mil Mascaras color card, even if it meant no more black and white conversions. There are so many possibilities with art for Mil Mascaras. I totally agree. Michael Brada said, my color update pick would be Kevin Sullivan. So another great choice right there. Pariah says, really tough question of the week, but I got to stick to my guns and go with Sabu. So that's 2 for Sabu. He's been my number 1 wish to get the color treatment for quite a while. Joe M says, if I could only get one card redone in color, it would be a Legends of the Future card. Brody Lee would get a colorized card. I choose this one because it would be the biggest change from a black and white card, where most of the Legends cards would probably be very similar to their black and white card. Can't argue with that. I am not an Indies player, but I love that Indies names are getting thrown in here as well. Pete Beck says, well, you said both of whom I would have said, Rick Rude and Andre. Rude would get my vote, as there is just so much that could be put into a color version of him. It would be a colorful spectacular. I agree. You could have multiple Rick Rude. You know how they did Gordon Soley with the two different, it's the same drawing, but it's 2 different color jackets. You could just do the same. You could do like 10 different Rick Rude cards with different trunks. It'd be fantastic. Mark Hitchinson says, one more colorized card, Rick Rude, and it should include his colorful attire. I also want to pit him against Roddy Piper for old time's sake. Jared B says, Justin Liger. Nah, I can't make that choice. It just feels selfish. Ultimate Wildcat fan, KB, says, for the color update, Freddie Blassie. I really hope we get a Freddie Blassie card too. Blassie is awesome. Kamala2111 says, Andre, my choice for the color card. Only one, Andre. And Carl Zilla brings us to the finish here by saying, one black and white card, that's easy. The Sheik. So a lot of love for the Sheik and Sabu and just, yeah, some great choices there. I think if I had to make the choice and choose only one, I would say Andre, if it meant we could have like two versions of him. So I know that people want the Andre in his prime, and that's the card we got. But I would love it if the deal included we could do two Andre cards, one in his prime and one in his WWF, WrestleMania 3, which I know he wasn't in his prime. I know. I get it. I know. But it would just be cool to get both of those cards so you could use them either way. Well, I got a new question for this week, and this one's a little bit easier. So here's the question of the show. Simply, what is the hottest feud in your Fed right now? In any of your Feds, it could be Champions, it could be Legends, it could be Chronos, it could be FTR, it could be Indies, it could be whatever. What is the hottest feud in your Fed right now? And if you want to talk a little bit about the feud, please do in the comments, and we will talk about them next week on the show. There's no song of the show this week, but I did want to say that every Thursday morning, if you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, from now through April, you're going to get a little musical surprise that has to do with wrestling. So be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. The first couple ones are already out, but this is a series I would like to continue every Thursday morning. You'll get a nice little wrestling-related musical surprise if you subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about elsewhere on the YouTube channel, and only two things this week. We had the Hollywood Elite Wrestling number 65, a fantastic match between King Harley Race and Jackie Fargo for the title. And holy cow, ladies and gentlemen, my Ringside Companion unboxing video has, if it's not the video that has gotten the most views in 24 hours, it is certainly very close. This has been the hottest video on my channel in quite some time. So thank you to everybody who's checked it out. If you haven't checked it out, go over to youtube.com/GWF promoter to see all the fun that I have going on in the channel. As we wrap up, I do want to mention the friends of the show. You can, of course, check out Uncharted Territory, the Legends podcast. They put out another great episode with Mark Ashby as the guest. My good friend Steve Tower. I had so much fun texting with Steve Tower last weekend about different topics, and big, huge props to him for being a cool guy. And so definitely check out Steve Towers after further review. Check out Heartland Championship Wrestling with Dave Little. Check out Roll Up, the official podcast of Filsinger Games. Lee Longpree with the Dizzy Dice podcast. Check him out. And of course, Brockster Builds on Twitch and YouTube with all his amazing content. I would like to extend an invitation to you to come join us on the Filsinger Games Fan Discord. This is over at bit.ly, that's bit.ly/FGF Discord. There's a link in the show notes, and it's just a chat room. We just have some fun. We just talk. I am not on Facebook. I don't have a personal Facebook account or even a professional Facebook account. So this kind of takes the place of that Filsinger Games Facebook group that is on Facebook. And we've had a lot of great discussions this week. We were most very recently talking about when we think Champions of the Galaxy Online will get some actual updates. And we had a great discussion about alternate universes in Champions of the Galaxy. So again, check that out at bit.ly/FGF FGF Discord. It is open to everybody. You're welcome to come on over there and join in the fun. Hey, did you know that there's an audio version of this podcast? You're watching it on YouTube, you're watching it on Twitch, but you could also subscribe via audio, and you can get it wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Filsinger Games in your favorite audio store, and it'll pop right up. If you have a topic you'd like the show to cover, you can leave it in the comments, and we will use it on a future show. Make sure you subscribe or follow, whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, and follow GWF Promoter on social media at GWF Promoter. You can check out my personal feds at gwfpromoter.com and lowpromoter.com. I have been updating a lot over at lowpromoter.com. Maybe next week I'll throw in some of my results into the show here. The theme song for this show is American Guy by Throwing Toasters, used by permission and available on Apple Music, Spotify, and anywhere else that you get your music. This podcast is not affiliated in any way with Filsinger Games or its subsidiaries. It's purely for entertainment purposes only. Want to give a special shout out to everyone who was watching in the chat. Referee James Lawrence III, Christopher Merriman, Michael Bratta. Michael sent me some very awesome stuff, which I did a little unboxing of, along with some other stuff, so that'll be coming to the channel soon. Randy Pandel, Michael Brown, Miho Burns, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Ben NG, Michael Brown, I think I got, and Referee James Lawrence. There you go. This episode of the Filsinger Games Fan Podcast is Salvador America's in here as well. This episode of the Filsinger Games Fan Podcast is copyright 2022, Saturday Morning Media. Friends, I hope you have an amazing, amazing weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Now, next week, I will be driving back from Las Vegas on Friday, so there may or may not be a podcast Friday night. It may be pushed until Saturday, but we'll see. We'll see how crazy Las Vegas gets, and whether or not I'll be able to do a show Friday afternoon. All right, my friends, I will talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.